Hey everybody, Joel's here, and today I'm just preparing some pizza, vegan pizza at that. But I just wanted to share some thoughts. There's a lot been going on, and I just wanted to take a moment and chat up with you guys, let you know what's going on. I really don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I really feel like Source wants me to talk. So, just a little chat with Joel this Friday afternoon. And this lighting is kind of weird. I mean, we've got the back window there, but this is what I got going on for the kitchen, so it's all good. So we got some organic tomato sauce. We're gonna start right away and turn that on the stove and get my stirring stick. So while that's simmering, I'm just gonna start chopping some of the toppings, getting that ready. But I mean, hey, this is great. I mean, just preparing some vegan pizza. I love pizza, always have, and now that I can eat it vegan, man, that's the best of both worlds. So you can check out my recipe right there. I mean, that's literally the first video I ever made when I started these YouTube channels. Yeah, cooking. I love cooking. I love food, and that's basically one of the reasons why I got my first channel with my vegan recipes, because honestly, I love food and I just love getting passionate about veganism, because really, back in the day, I used to be so overweight. Man, I was a sight, let me tell you, and I was sick. Like, there were times when I would go to work and I literally felt like passing out. It was just like the sugar and all the toxins in my body. I was like really suffering on borderline diabetes if I wasn't already there. Like, I couldn't even stand up at work sometimes. I would just feel like passing out. And once I discovered that, if you're eating death, you're just going to be manifesting more of that. So quit it. Just stop eating death. Get rid of that blood appetite. Mind you, as humans, we're not carnivores. So we just have to purge that bloodlust, that appetite for death that has been instilled in our species. It's foreign to us. We don't actually want to go out and hunt and kill. And, that's not innate. So once I realized that, I realized, hey, let me shed this. Let me raise my vibration. And then, man, everything shifted. Well, let's just say not everything, because right after that, I actually got a job in foods. I had to wear a hairnet. Thank goodness I don't work there anymore. I mean, I literally look like one of the Saptarshis whenever I do this, right? But what are you gonna do, right? Indian descent. And at least it's better than wearing a hairnet all day, yeah? Well, you gotta have some fun, right? Hey! Why didn't I think of that? I should have an Indian guy on my show. I mean, I have zucchini, right? Why didn't I think of that? Maybe I am gonna do that. I am gonna do that. You are going to see me very soon with Indian accent. But man, that was ugly. I literally had to hand out hot dogs to people, stand above that steamer for 8 hours a day, nonstop, just taking orders, handing them out, handing out soft serve ice cream. It was a nightmare, and I'm so glad I'm out of that place. Like, mind you, I can wear jewelry in the kitchen, but seriously, this place taught me so much. And despite knowing what I knew about veganism, I couldn't really share it with the customers at my job. Every time someone came out, and man, we had people at this place. There were guys that would literally order like a dozen hot dogs and they would eat them all. So I had to do this, and with a clear conscience. Like, I couldn't condescend, I couldn't criticize, I couldn't judge. And at the same time, energetically, I had to figure out, like, how can I wake people up? That lasted like a couple years, but all of a sudden I had the realization, hey, let me share recipes. Even if the people buying the hot dogs from me right now aren't ready to hear this message, there are people on YouTube, there are people out there that want to raise their vibration. Even if they don't know the process, at least they're setting forth and starting this procedure. And you know what? That's where this has led me. So it has been a journey. It has been a learning process, not just for myself, but how to bring this story to the world, because people don't know the truth behind animal agriculture, and it's not just animal agriculture. It's what goes on to get that to your plate. If you want to participate in that, hey, by all means, feel free, but you're going to reap the harvest of that, not only in your physical health and your physical life, but vibrationally, energetically, all of that you're ingesting is going to manifest. Think about it. When you buy something, we've all gone to the store and seen something we like, and we buy it and we bring it home. We put it up on the mantelpiece, or, we put it up for show. That is great, but we're bringing these objects into our house and we're harmonizing them. But how much more harmonizing goes on when you actually eat something, when you actually put it in your body, and all of that substance literally becomes a part of you. It fuses with your cellular structure, and literally, chemically, energetically, vibrationally, it all becomes one thing. Imagine that. So that's why I say, feed yourself with that which you know you want to partake in. Feed yourself with where you want to head, the direction and the trajectory where you know you're headed. You might not get there overnight. Even me, when I realized that I loved animals more than I wanted to hurt them or pay others to hurt them, it took me a while. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to partake in this industry. I don't want to put this into my body. I don't want to create my body in this fashion. I don't want to manifest more of that ideology into the world through this physical suit. That decision happened right away. And it happened one year in like 2012, 2013. But from that time till the time that I really became 100% vegan, there were incidents. I remember Passover for 2015. I was chowing down these lamb steaks. There were still incidents since that initial moment when I decided I don't want to partake in this. There were still incidents when I actually, ate that stuff. And I felt bad, but at the same time, I knew the trajectory in which I was headed. The day after I ate, I felt bad. I did fasting, I did cleansing. I just wanted to get those toxins and all of that energetic signature that was in that piece of flesh. I wanted to get that out of my system. And I knew that was the direction I was headed. So it took me a while to get rid of that habit, because it literally is an addiction. We're addicted to substances and hormones, literally like the adrenaline and the adrenochrome in the bloodstream that gets in there when the animal is slaughtered. All of that really works in our system and really changes the way we think. And that's why people don't want to give it up. They know what it takes to get that piece of flesh onto your plate. But as soon as you bring it up, they'll do everything they can to justify continuing that. But they know. But the only reason they're doing that is because the drugs are controlling their mind. Think about it. And that happens for anything. I'm not just talking food. I've had experiences with friends and addictions, interventions, and I know, you can talk sense to them. They don't want it. They know it's hurting them, and yet their body drives them to continue on with that. So I'm not blaming anybody for, where we started. I remember the first time I saw my mom decapitating a fish. I bawled my eyes out because I knew that wasn't the natural way. That's not the way creation is made to function. But then my parents are like, oh, it's already dead. You got to eat, blah, blah, blah. So I was raised for 20 plus years eating that stuff. And for me, it was normal. But as soon as I realized, you know what? There are people out there surviving without partaking in this industry. Guess what? Let me do so myself. All of a sudden, a lot of mental fog just fell off. Old relationships, old job patterns, just things that weren't working out energetically just fell away. And all of a sudden, I started living a high vibe life. I had new dreams and new aspirations that were there in me when I was younger, but I just didn't know how to bring them to pass. And all of a sudden, I was implementing higher modes of thinking. I wanted to bring people together into community. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just about manifesting a better house for myself or, better relationships or a better job or whatever. I was thinking about how can I bring this world into a community? Maybe I can build a school. Maybe I can get people together and start utilizing their right brain hemisphere. At the very least, I can get people to realize that animal agriculture isn't benefiting the energetic signature of the world. So that's a bit of my backstory. Like, I just wanted to have a little chat and share that with you guys, because there is a lot that we can see in the world that might be going wrong, and we might want to raise past it. We just don't know how. But they're energetic patterns that we are actually partaking in, participating in, and actually harmonizing, ingesting, and actually assimilating with this energy. We're doing this on a day-to-day basis, and many of us don't even realize it. So yeah, veganism is the way to go, guys. Like, honestly, that should be the baseline. We should just admit to ourselves that, animals don't want to be killed. Because once we do that, we'll stop denying reality, and we'll actually be able to work with it. We'll actually be able to move forward rather than struggling the whole time, wondering, why is life such a struggle? It doesn't have to be, and it's not made to be. So we just have to realize what we're doing wrong and quit it. Stop it! Yeah, it was funny back in the day. Actually, back in the day when I used to work in IKEA Foods, when I started there actually working in the bistro, serving out hot dogs, I actually was raw food. And not just raw food, but fruitarian. A typical breakfast for me was like 20 kiwis. Then I'd go to work and I'd take like a bag of oranges. I'd come home and I'd have like half a dozen mangoes. That was my life for actually 2-3 years. And while I was working there handing out hot dogs, all of a sudden I met somebody and I'm like, you know what? I want to get to know this person. Turns out they weren't vegan and they had no clue about it. And I'm like, you know what? I can't judge. So I've got to meet them halfway, and I've got to kind of harmonize this in my mind so that I can actually function with other people. And in learning to do so, I actually realized, especially with the fruitarian diet here in Calgary, most of the fruit we get is picked raw. It's completely acidic, and it actually does more harm than good. Mind you, if you're living in Thailand, if you're living in the tropics and you've got access to fresh fruit, by all means, go for it, because that kind of fruit is perfect. There's literally no better food available for mankind than fresh fruit. And think about it. It's packaged perfectly. It doesn't even go bad in its packet. When I'm talking packet, I'm talking about, the skin it comes in. It doesn't go bad. It's made to stay that way. It's actually made to ripen off the vine. When we actually think about what fruit is, it's a wonder. But like I said, commercially picked and shipped fruit is not the way to go. And that's the main reason why I have dental issues today, is because I was literally just working my mouth raw with kiwi. Like, my mouth would literally bleed sometimes, and I'm like, why is this happening when this is the perfect food? I'm like, duh, because they're not picked ripe. Half of them are raw when I'm eating them. It's not doing my body any good. So I realized, we gotta do the best we can given the situations we have. But veganism is the baseline. If we get past that as a society, we're gonna realize we don't need to oppress animals. Once we stop oppressing animals, we're gonna at least start stopping to oppress each other. The more we wake up, the more we wake up, and the more we wake up, the more we wake up. I know that sounds redundant, but that literally is the way it goes. So, just do your best to wake up. Just do your best with whatever situation you have on hand. But whatever that presents itself as, just go for it. Just set your intention to raise your vibration. Just set your intention to purge some of that baggage. Whatever's been holding us back as a species and as individuals. All we have to do is set our intention and say, Source, I want to raise past this. I want to develop in such a way where I'm not being held back by all this stuff that society has deemed normal. I don't want that normal. I want super normal. I'm moving into the supernatural, and I'm manifesting a supernatural world in this world. I got a plate, and I'm going to start chopping the veggies for the pizza toppings. And I got my trusty IKEA knife. If there's anything that I like about that store, it's that they've got a lot of household stuff. You get towels, you get knives, you get all that kind of stuff. If you just need something cheap you don't want to spend too much money on, that's the place to go. Mind you, some of their designs are pretty lame, but it's that cheap Bauhaus inspired kind of style, which I like the Art Deco, and I kind of liked Bauhaus, but just that postmodern stuff just doesn't really do it for me. But IKEA's alright. IKEA's alright. A lot of the stuff they have is pretty decent. And I can talk about it now that I don't work there anymore. I got it. I thought I was missing one ingredient, but I got it. We're good. You know, I'm tired. To be honest, this whole last year has been exhausting. And just me getting this information out to you guys, like, it's helping me, it's clearing a lot of my mind, but there's so much in here that I can't just organize this all into clear-cut videos. And that's why I want to focus more on the Joel Fernandez show, because a lot of the information that comes out through that show is spontaneous. And I'll cover, 4 or 5 different topics in one show. So if you guys like that show, check it out, because I share a lot of esoteric knowledge. I delve really deep into the nature of how reality works and how we can literally manifest the life we've always wanted. And I really want to focus on these videos, but man, I'm swamped with all the work that's been going on and researching and actually developing a right hemisphere way of thinking and implementing into society. So everything that's going on is really moving forward. The momentum really has been building, and I'm excited because this is just a sign to show that my manifestations that I've implemented are already in the pipelines. The thing that trips up a lot of people about manifesting is they might visualize a couple times, they might make a vision board, they might do all of that work and really get into it. But once they realize that reality doesn't shift overnight, people lose hope. And a lot of people give up, but that's not the way. You got to learn how to read the trends and how to see when reality is course correcting to match the vibration you're emitting. Once you see those signs, you're going to realize that, hey, we are moving forward. That's what it's all about, right? When we're struggling and we're fighting with the physical reality, trying to create something that we prefer, we're going to be met with resistance. We're pushing against something, and that's just going to create more resistance. So we have to enter into the causal realms and literally manifest the world that we know is coming through from within us. Once we step into that space, it literally just radiates, and we start to experience events and whatever situations around us more in harmony with that energy that we're emitting. But we got to be putting that energy in us to begin with. And that's why I'm so passionate about what you eat. Oh, I'm getting a call. Hold on. All right, we're back. But anyway, yeah. What was I saying? I'm never about criticizing anybody. That's not what this is about. So if you think that I'm here saying, go vegan or else, that's not it at all. But I am saying that that is the way to move forward. That is the way to raise yourself. That is the way to shed a lot of the baggage that's just been holding you back. Why do you want to continue holding yourself back? Why? Right now, I'm actually fasting during daylight hours for this moon. And it gives you more time to focus on what's important. Tapping in with source, preparing really good meals. And that way you can look forward to them and enjoy them. Like today, I'm having some amazing pea soup and vegan pizza. Actually, check out the recipe for pea soup too. That's not bad itself. Man, I got a really good meal coming up today. I'm going to boil this water. Just getting the spices ready for my soup. And I'm going to chop some mushrooms. These are shiitake. Would be better if they were psilocybin, but this time it's just a regular pizza. Okay, chop up a couple mushrooms, get some spinach, and I actually have some pineapple and olives. Get some peppers. Man, you can just have some fun with these toppings, to be honest. Boom. Organic spinach, baby. It's crazy that organic doesn't mean what it used to mean. But you can definitely tell the difference when you buy non-organic. Non-organic tomatoes just taste like red bags of water. But when you get those juicy organic tomatoes, man, you bite into them and that flavor, it's just like, this is what's normal, and now it's marketed as organic. This is the way it's supposed to be. Literally, we're just supposed to go out in our backyard and pick fruit off the tree for free. But we've come a long way as society, and we just have to reclaim our dominion and enter back into that Garden of Eden mindset. Once we enter back into that mindset, we'll start manifesting more of that world, and we'll start to experience more of that world. That's the way to get back there. But yeah, when I was raw food, it was very easy to be judgmental of others. And like, I learned something. And I knew that, hey, what I'm doing is getting rid of things that aren't serving me. So I wanted other people to join me, but they weren't ready to make that energetic vibrational shift. So because of that, no matter what I told them, they were still hanging on to their old habits. And I had to let that go, because when I was working in the bistro, there was this one girl. I'm going to tell this story. I don't care, man. Vulnerability is how we as society can actually grow past the things that are holding us back. If I hide my personal stories, it's not going to help other people who might be going through the same thing actually break through those barriers. So yeah, when I was working in the bistro, there was this really cute girl that started working with me, and I'm like, you know what, I want to get to know her. And sometimes it was really awkward, because with the job we had, I would literally be standing on the server, she would be standing on the till, and we'd be there for like 8.5 hours on a busy Saturday, and I literally couldn't even say anything to her. And I'm like just standing right next to her, and then I'm like, But anyway, I digress. What I wanted to do is I wanted to hang out with her, and I realized, hey, she's not vegan. She has no qualms about handing out hot dogs and talking about chicken burgers and whatever. And I'm like, dude, what do I do? Like, I actually want something better, not just for me, but for her too. Like, I don't want her to have to keep bagging herself down with, all that energetic baggage. So I'm like, you know what? Let me break the barrier. And I remember one day I sat down for lunch with her in the cafeteria. I just plopped my quinoa salad on the table. She looked, she's like, whoa, quinoa. And I'm like, yeah, I'm vegan. And she didn't know. This was like maybe a year, 2 years after we actually started working together. And she's like, wait, what? You were working, stocking the meatballs, handing out hot dogs and soft serve ice cream. What? I didn't know you were vegan. I'm like, yeah, it's just a job, but this is the way to go. I told her a bit of my story, and I even told her, I started out just eating like oranges and apples every day. But even then, she realized, she's like, you know what? I would go vegan, but I'm living at home, and it's tough when, there's food all around me. But I love my apples and peanut butter. I'm like, dude, apples and peanut butter is the best snack ever. And when you actually harmonize with somebody like that, if I was judgmental and I was like, you know what, she has meat on her plate, I'm not going to eat with her, maybe we can talk later, but I would have never been able to share that part of my story with her. So we got to break through the mold, and we got to realize, how can we actually move forward in the best way possible, not just for me, but for everybody involved. We got to bring our own story to the table. We can't be critical of others. We got to realize that we were in that place once. We were just as addicted to those foods and those substances, as much in denial as they are. And we can't bring other people down when we're trying to bring them up. Oh man, I think those were just some wise words. But seriously, that's what it is. We can't be tearing people down with the intent to build them up. But that meal that I had with her was actually a manifestation. I'd set visualizations forth and intentions in order to share that part of my story with her. And it just unfolded. One day I was literally there, and it would have been awkward for me not to sit with her. And it just happened that way. That's the beauty of manifesting. That's literally the power that we have to literally create events that we want to experience, as impossible as they seem. And then they just happen. We don't even have to try to make them happen. They literally just fall into place around us. That is the beauty of manifesting. And that is how we can manifest ourselves out of the mess that we found ourselves in, and literally create a heaven on earth. A world that is beyond our dreams, because all those events that we can manifest are literally just dreams. They're, wishful thinking until we actually realize them and they happen. And we're like, wow, this was supposed to be impossible. And yet it just happened. It just happened. That's what manifesting is. So that's why I'm like, raise your vibrations, guys. Raise your vibrations. Get up there and just shed the baggage. Get rid of that stuff that's not serving you. We could really move forward creating this beautiful utopia. The sauce is ready. How does his hair look? It's kind of awkward on the camera, right? It's better than tying it in the back for me, though. Honestly, anything's better than having to wear those hair. I had to wear a beard net. That was the most ridiculous thing. When they hired me, they're like, you don't need to wear a beard net. And then after that, they're like, hey, wear the beard net. Wear the beard net. And it was a pain. That's one of the reasons why I don't like wearing the muzzles, because I had to wear that beard net behind these ear things, and then it really just uncomfortable, right? Mind you, that muzzle on your face is as uncomfortable, and you don't get to see people smile. And I remember even when I was working in the bistro, I worked in customer service after that for some time too, at the handouts counter. And I would just love to see people come up to the counter and I would smile at them, make an energetic exchange. You can't really talk much verbally, but a lot can be said with that heart vibration. You just set it forth and people pick up on that. And, there's some cranky people, but you can actually adjust their vibration too, just by radiating peace, by radiating that harmony. I had an effect on people, and people saw it in my eyes, they saw it in my smile. And mind you, right now we're in a bit of hiatus, but that itself is serving to develop me further so that I can work on my communication skills, so that I can actually work on a message to share to people, so that once this is over, and it is going to be over, trust me, once this is all over, we're actually going to be able to step up and literally create the world that we knew we were deserving of all along. The world that we were putting on hold while we were back in the same old, grinding those hamster wheels, putting food on the table for the man, but ignoring our own hearts. All that has changed because during this time, we've realized what's really important, what really matters to us. Once we realize that, once we find ourselves out of this hurdle, we're going to actually be creating that. We already got the momentum building. And once that dam is breached, the flood is just going to open and it's going to be unstoppable. In fact, it's already started. They can't stop it. They're running scared. I can share way more about this, but you guys are just going to have to take my word for it, because right now it's happening behind the scenes. The media is perpetrating a story that is completely just a narrative because they want to hide from the real facts that they're losing ground. They're losing ground, so they have to put on a show. And we're going to see that this show was nothing more than hot air. And not even hot air at that. They don't even have hot air. All right, well, I'm going to have to already. The heat from the steamers, and you're literally on your feet running around making cones and serving hot dogs and throwing pizza in the oven. You know what? It was a mess. It was a mess, and it was a tiring job. Literally worked to the bone every day. I would come home exhausted, but I still had a vibrational trajectory. And from there, I just kept developing that. And I knew that, that job wasn't ideal for me. But despite all that, I was working as unto Source. I'm like, Source, there's a reason why I'm here. Whatever I'm learning here, and you know what, whoever I have to talk to, share my story with, whether it's verbally or energetically, no matter how this is playing out, I know this is all happening for a reason. So I'm just going to do it for you. And from there, once I consciously realized that, everything shifted. And in fact, once I consciously said that was when they transferred me out of the foods. And it actually started with me going up to the restaurant. And from there, in the restaurant, they actually served veggie balls. They actually had vegetarian options. So when someone would come up with that, I would say, oh, veggie balls, my favorite. It would spark a conversation and I would be able to share a bit more of my story. And from there, I just continued as if I was working as to Source instead of the company. And from there, I transferred to customer handouts. And from there, I was able to interact energetically with other coworkers and other customers. And then once this lockdown hit, I'm like, you know what, Source, this is all you're doing. I'm going to do this unto you. And then immediately they're like, we can't continue you working here. This is not working out for either of us. We're going to have to downsize. Sorry about that. I'm like, fine, no hard feelings. And as soon as I came back, the Joel Fernandez show started. This channel took off. I mean, it wasn't the Joel Fernandez show right away, but it was in the making. And everything, the messages that I was putting out, the skills I was learning just with video editing, and all of that stuff just compounded and developed into this show. I mean, I didn't even think that this channel and this show would take off the way it has. But the message is what's important. It's not the show. It's not even about me. I'm sharing the message because Source has brought this information to me to share to you, and from there it can grow out and expand throughout society. That's what this is all about, and it's not me doing it, Source is the one doing it. So Source has our best interests in mind, and we are moving forward as a society. Source wants us to actually step up and reclaim our dominion so that we can actually manifest heaven on earth. That's what the original plan was all along. But because things got sidetracked, in fact, it's because of that a whole lot of problems that were intrinsic in our being, I guess you could say, were exposed so that we can work through them in this physical life and actually purge them out of us. And as we purge them out of us, just by doing inner work, by tapping in with Source, there's no fire that can purge dross better than the fire of Source, the living word, literally the black fire written on the white fire. That's what we're talking about when we talk about these ancient texts in the reasoning videos. But that is what purged my vibration in the first place. Just tapping in with Source and saying, Source, some of this stuff in the world isn't working for me. Just show me how I can move past it. And Source is like, hey, you're doing things that are just keeping you back in that prison. Let go of those things, and this catapult is just going to shoot you forward into my arms. So that's what I wanted to share today. I love you guys. Really, stay optimistic, because this world is being made manifest. As long as we hold our vibration, as long as we maintain our trajectory, we will see the fruit of the seeds we plant. It's inevitable. That harvest, that is the rule. That is the law of this world. Seed time and harvest. So plant the seeds that you know you want, and you're going to reap a harvest that is beyond what you could possibly ask or even think. So I'll see you in the next video. Joel signing out once again. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. Stay optimistic and stay well. We got this. Source has got this. Agape. Salaam. Namaste. Hotep. Yeah, I'm literally done.